National media outlet Bleacher Report actually gives the Vikings some props for the free agency signing of cornerback Byron Murphy. We'll talk about what they had to say right after this. In a media landscape full of disrespect for anything Minnesota Vikings related, we actually got a little bit of respect for a move that we made this offseason. Now, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah is, he's made some moves, big moves, and some not so big moves, but a lot of fans are kind of 50-50 split on him. Like, is he good? Is he not? I know we talked about it on our live stream last week. Yep. But, at the end of the day, he a lot of times does what he needs to do. And coming into the season, one of the weaknesses on this team was cornerback, right? We had a bunch of young talent at corner. Patrick Peterson, the only really solid vet we had, just left. Right. And then we were kind of wondering, first day free agency passes, nothing happens. Our names started getting linked to a couple people, Sean Murphy Bunting. But then our name was also linked to cornerback Byron Murphy of Arizona. And of course, that, as we all know now, that was the free agent corner that Kwesi took a swing on. And I think it's going to work out well. Obviously, I know he had some injury issues, but he had a pretty solid career with Arizona. And when the signing happened, I know you and I were both excited, right? So I think it was a great signing. And as I said, media outlet Bleacher Report give us a little bit of respect for the move.
Yeah, let's jump into that because Bleacher Report kind of came out with an article with the most overlooked additions of the 2023 NFL offseason. They picked 5 players, and one of those players was Byron Murphy. As you can see here, Byron Murphy, cornerback, Minnesota Vikings. Out of the 5 players, they pick him. The Minnesota Vikings added a key piece to the rebuilding defense at a great price when they signed veteran cornerback Byron Murphy Jr. to a 2-year, $22 million contract. The move gives the club an experienced, tough defender who can line up in several spots. That versatility will be welcomed in a secondary that was largely responsible for the disappointing ending to the team's 2022 campaign.
And obviously, and that is 100% correct. While the cornerbacks were bad, obviously the scheme wasn't great. Cornerbacks we were playing, 10 yards off the receivers. We could not develop pass rush. Those two things hand in hand were not great. But again, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of inexperience at the position, and bringing in a guy like Byron Murphy who can play all over that backfield, all 3 cornerback spots. I do think with the way that how free agency plus the draft went, I do think he will be probably a shoo-in to start at one of those outside corner spots.
Yeah, it'd be his job to lose at that. He's going to get every opportunity to start at least one of them. And he would have to really take a step back, I think, at this point. Or one of these young guys really takes a step forward. But my guess probably goes into the season, cornerback 1 at least. Anyways, but while the Vikings posted an impressive 13-4 record during the regular season last year, it's always hard to read stuff like this because it still hurts, After Kirk Cousins threw a 4-yard pass on 4th. All right, last year, a suspect defense was exposed by the New York Giants in the wildcard round. Leading up to the playoff contest, Minnesota had allowed a concerning 265.6 yards per game through the air and conceded 29 passing touchdowns, the second worst mark in the NFL in each of those categories. Murphy's presence will help bring these numbers down in 2023 by making this unit more competitive against opposing signal callers. New defensive coordinator Brian Flores will enjoy having an intelligent, gritty playmaker like Murphy who can be used either outside or in the nickel as needed. While the 25-year-old is coming off a season-ending back injury, he's only a year removed from a 2021 campaign in which he racked up 64 tackles, 12 pass defenses, and 4 interceptions while starting 16 contests. Prior to going down in Week 9 last year, Murphy was only allowing a 63.8% completion rate, a career best mark when targeted in coverage. With rookie corners, this is when this article always throws me off a little bit. So it says with rookie cornerback Mekhi Blackmon and Jay Ward. That's what throws me off because there's been a few articles where I've even seen people talk more about Jay Ward than Mekhi Blackmon, and we're not really hearing anything about Jay Ward ever since he was drafted. So that's interesting. But
right. But I know when he was drafted, he's drafted as a safety, but they did mention that there's a good chance that he could end up having a big role in that nickel spot, which has kind of become a little more of the base defense as opposed to three linebackers.
Also expected to play large roles this season. That's the thing. Obviously, you know, this is we talked about this in our last video with Pat McAfee. This is a situation where, you know, someone doesn't know enough about the Vikings, because expected to play larger roles this season, and you don't mention Evans or Andrew Booth Jr. Helping offset the losses of veteran Patrick Peterson and Chandon Sullivan shouldn't be hard. In free agency, the Vikings have a real opportunity to emerge as a capable defensive squad. That's what we needed here. The Vikings have a real opportunity to emerge as a capable defensive squad.
It's a little bit of a backhanded compliment because capable isn't really saying like good. It's just saying like they'll be all right, which is honestly what
all we need is
what we could ask for. But like you look at who they're talking about here, right? Like Patrick Peterson, yes, he had some good interceptions this year, but like and there were some games like especially Arizona because he was extra hyped up for that game. But like there were some games where he was phenomenal. And there's some games, like 2 against Giants, where he gets smoked by no-name receivers. So, I mean, he's getting older. We knew he wasn't the Patrick Peterson of old. But that's the thing with Byron Murphy. You're getting a player in the prime of his career. As they said, he was hurt last year, but coming off of 2 really solid seasons, 4 interceptions 2 years ago. It's last year, career best mark and completion percentage. I think this is kind of one of those things. People aren't like people outside the Vikings and some fans are just kind of like, yeah, whatever. But I think that's like Bleacher Report's right on the nose here with it being an underrated signing because people think it's just another corner. And we're drafting these guys, they must not think he's going to be that good. He probably just is going to be a role player. Like, I think he has a shot to come in, start, and not only just start, but be a solid starter for this team.
Yeah, we're talking about a guy that was picked 33 overall. So first pick of the second round. Comes in, has that really good season 2021. His potential in general was one of the reasons where Arizona felt comfortable moving on from Patrick Peterson. And now he's only 25 years old. And obviously he's had his injury, totally healthy now. There's no reports of him having like any setbacks or not being in mini camp or anything like that. So I don't know, man. I think we did get a good one. And yeah, I was going to say he's only 25 years old. That's like the best case scenario of this situation is if he ends up being really good for us, we could have this guy for the long term. I mean, he could be literally a cornerstone for the future for years to come,
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, Bleacher Report says Byron Murphy, underrated free agent signing for the Minnesota Vikings. What are your guys' thoughts on Byron Murphy? Do you think he's going to have a big role on the defense this year? Do you think he's going to reclaim some of those numbers he had before he got hurt? Let us know down in the comments your thoughts, and we'll see you guys next time on the GG Sports Podcast.
Skol Vikes.